Okay, sometimes when you go to graph an equation, it may not be in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, again, is y equals mx plus b. M is your number that represents your slope, and b is your number that represents your y-intercept. And it has to be in this order in order for you to graph it on a graph. So let's take a look at number one. It's not in slope-intercept form because y needs to be by itself. And right now, y is not by itself. It's got this plus 3x over here. So what you would do to rearrange it to get y by itself is you would move 3x to the other side by adding or subtracting it. And if we added it, it would not cancel out. It would become 3x plus 3x, which is 6x. So instead, you are going to subtract 3x from both sides. What you do to one side, you always do to the other. 3x minus 3x cancels because that would be 0, and it leaves y by itself. Yay, you're done. But the biggest mistake I see kids making here is they do 5 minus 3x is 2x. Wrong. 5 minus 3x are not like terms. This one does not have an x and this one does. So you either need to just write them right next to each other like this, 5 minus 3x, or I would rather you guys start putting the number that has the x first so that it's actually in slope-intercept form, so that the number, the slope that has x comes first and then your y-intercept. So let's put the negative 3x first. And then this is a positive 5. You look in front to see if it's positive or negative, and it is positive 5, so you're going to put plus 5. Now that it's in slope-intercept form, you can, I guess, rewrite it here. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. And now you can identify the slope. The slope is the m, the number in front of x. And the y-intercept, actually, let's just put that up there. The m is the slope, the y-intercept is the b, and your b is positive 5. So the y-intercept is 5. Sometimes you might see it written as 0, 5 if you wanted to write an ordered pair, but I'm fine if you just put 5. Okay, let's go a little bit faster now with the next one now that you know what we're doing. Number 2, to get y by itself, you're first going to move the x to the other side by subtracting it. What you do to one side, you need to do also to the other. Those cancel. 4x minus 4x is 0. Bring down 2y. Get in the habit of bringing down your negative 4x first, whatever your term is that has the x. That's a positive 10. And remember, you can't combine them. Don't say 14x or 6x or something like that. They're not like terms. The last step to getting y by itself is you have to divide by 2. We've started this in class, but we haven't done it a lot. So a quick reminder is you have to divide both terms by 2. It almost makes a little heart whenever you look at it like that. So let's divide both terms. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Don't forget your x. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. Positive divided by positive, so it's positive 5. So I'm going to put plus 5. Good. So the entire slope-intercept form equation is y equals negative 2x plus 5. The slope, or the m, would be our negative 2. And the b is 5 again, or 0, 5. Sometimes it's written like that. Okay, let's move on to number 3. In order to get y by itself, we're first going to move the 6x to the other side by subtracting it. They cancel on the left, leaving 3y. On the right, we're going to just write them out. We're not going to combine them. They're not like terms, but I'm going to put the negative 6x first. And then that's a positive 18, so plus 18. And then your last step is you're going to divide both sides by 3 to get y by itself. Remember, you can divide each term by 3. And if it helps you to go ahead and make that little heart, do it. Negative 6x divided by 3 is negative 2x. And 18 divided by 3 is positive 6. So I'm going to put plus 6. Okay, so slope-intercept form is y equals negative 2x plus 6. Our slope is the number that's in front of x, so that's negative 2 again. And our y-intercept is the number that's by itself. It's where you'd put your first dot if you were graphing it, which that ordered pair would be 0, 6. All right, number 4. To get y by itself, you're going to start by moving the 4x by subtracting it because it's positive. Cancels on the left. You're left with that negative y, not just y. Y is not by itself, unfortunately. You're left with a negative y. Negative 4x plus 7 cannot be combined. This is the same thing on y as a negative hidden invisible 1 that's being multiplied by y. So we are going to divide both sides by that negative hidden invisible 1. On the left, they will cancel and y will be by itself. And on the right, you got to do the math. Let's do the little heart. Negative 4x divided by negative 1 is positive 4x. Positive 7 divided by negative 1 is negative 7. So we're going to put it like minus 7. So slope-intercept form, y equals 4x minus 7. The slope is 4. The y-intercept is negative 7, or 0, negative 7, if you were putting a dot on a graph. All right, so let's keep going as long as we don't run out of time. Number 5, move the 3x by subtracting it. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. On the left, they cancel, and go away, leaving us with negative 2y. On the right, you cannot combine them because they're not like terms, so don't do 6 minus 3x. Just leave it. I'm just going to rearrange the order. So negative 3x I'm going to put first, and then positive 6. Last step, to get y by itself, it's being multiplied by negative 2, so you're going to divide both sides by negative 2. They cancel on the left, and y is finally by itself, yay. On the right, when you do the little heart, here's something I want you guys to keep in mind. If they divide nice and neat like this side will, go ahead and do it. But if they do not divide nice and neat, let's just leave it this fraction. The only thing is it's a negative divided by a negative, so we can go ahead and make it positive. But I don't want you to do 3 divided by 2 and get 1.5 and make it all decimal. And let's just leave it 3 over 2. So 3 over 2x, I just took off the negatives because a negative divided by a negative is going to make this positive. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3, so that looks like minus 3. All right, so final slope-intercept form here is y equals 3 over 2x minus 3. The slope is up 3 over 2, and the y-intercept is negative 3, or 0, negative 3. Okay, next one. We want to get y by itself. Remember, that's the whole goal to rearranging, is to get y by itself. So first we're going to get rid of this negative x. If we move it to the other side, it's going to be by adding, because right now it's a negative, so we need to do the opposite. So we are going to add x to both sides this time, which is different. So these are opposites, so they will cancel. It leaves negative y by itself on the left. And on the right, I'm always going to put the x first, so that's a positive x, and that's a negative 2. So I'm going to write it like minus 2. Last step, y is negative, and remember how we did it before? That's like a negative hidden invisible 1 being multiplied by y. So we are going to divide both sides by negative 1. So when you do the little heart, that's another hidden invisible 1. 1 divided by negative 1 is just negative 1. So this would be negative 1x. So I'm going to put it like negative x. And then negative divided by negative is positive 2. So y equals negative x plus 2. The slope is that negative 1. And the y-intercept is positive 2. Okay, I would love for you guys to try the last one on your own and then check in with me and we'll see how you did.